So is the Trump-Vance Jodi good for India? Can India trust Trump and Vance to deliver? Is Trump's diplomacy driven, or the Trump-Vance brand of diplomacy driven by optics more than substance? Joined by two special guests, Vivek Kaju, former Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, and another senior diplomat, K.C. Singh, joining us. I appreciate both of you joining us. I wanted to get you to share your wisdom on how India should look at this entire Trump-Vance brand of diplomacy. Why don't you go first, Mr. Kaju? How do you see the manner in which Trump and Vance do their diplomacy? Is it much more about personal chemistry?
Look, there is no Jodi. There never has been a Jodi between a president and the vice president in the United States. The vice president does jobs that the president entrusts him or involves himself in areas that the president allows him. So let's be clear that it's a Trump administration. Vance does Trump's bidding. That has always been so in the United States. Second, Vance does Trump's, if I may use the word, occasionally his dirty work, in the sense that if there's an aggressive message, Trump leaves it to Vance to deliver it, and Vance does it with great happiness, because Vance appeals to the same constituency and wants to build the same constituency as Trump does. Now, third, as far as this visit is concerned, you have correctly characterized it as a personal visit. And normally when such personal visits take place, and I'm sure my senior colleague Casey will bear me out, you do have an add-on with a meeting between the Prime Minister and the visiting dignitary, if he is an important visiting dignitary, such as the Vice President of the United States necessarily is. There is the added element of the fact that there is his good lady who happens to be of Indian origin. So I found it curious when the official statement or official announcement of the Ministry of External Affairs said that this was an official visit. There was certain uh, official ceremonial that was done, but it is not an official visit. You are absolutely right
Okay.
in saying it's a personal visit. My last point. I do not expect that this visit would in any way contribute to the tough negotiations that are going on between India and the United States on tariffs. If anything, Vance will deliver a message that India should abide by what the President of the United States wants.
Okay, let me bring in K.C. Singh and to take your last point forward that Mr. Kaju just made Mr. Singh, that America is going to be tough on trade negotiations. And the next 6 months of the Indo-US relationship will be determined by how successful those trade negotiations are. Forget all the optics. It's nice to pull the cheeks of the children of Mr. Vance. At the end of the day, your success or failure is not going to be judged by these optics, but by how successful you are in culminating a trade deal. Is that fair is that a fair statement to make?
That's absolutely correct. And it's not 6 months. Actually, it's 90 days, and I think about 15 days are already over. So you just have about a little over 2 months left, in which by then Trump will again revisit that, whether he wants to extend the duties further or he wants to then pick on some people. It is correct, as Mr. Kaju said, totally correct, that vice presidents generally are not given too much leeway. Sometimes they are. Bush Sr. was given a lot of leeway by Reagan. But mostly they are in the shadow of the president. And in case of Trump, that even more so. You were showing the footage of the meeting with Zelensky in White House.
Yes.
The distinct impression was that actually Vance jumped in and exacerbated it. It was almost
Was that
as if
deliberate? You see, the belief is that that was also deliberate, that Vance was used to, in a way, corner Zelensky.
I don't know whether he was used or he wanted, at that stage, he had not got much attention. And he knew that this is the direction in which Trump is going. If you see, Trump is also a bit surprised. Otherwise, till then, Trump was talking in largely normal way for about 15 minutes with
Right.
Zelensky, but this exacerbated it and started the whole thing. So he's very smart. He jumps in and he's trying to be useful to Trump. And we shouldn't assume that everything he does because Trump has asked him. Also, we will know what he says because, look, he's not spoken in Delhi. There's no public lecture in Delhi. The only public lecture he gives is in Jaipur at the International Center. We'll see what he says. That may have some official message which he conveys, which he might have conveyed personally to the Prime Minister when he was talking to them. But essentially, I think India is also using him as a messenger boy and sending good vibes, good optics back to Trump for whatever it is worth. But essentially, it's going to be a tough negotiation with all the 60 odd countries. And I think we are not going to be an exception. So let's see where that goes.
But do those optics, Vivek Karju, make a difference? Do optics make a difference when you are in the midst of these tough trade negotiations? The fact that India is among the few countries with which the Trump-Vance leadership, at least at the moment, seems to have developed a decent chemistry, does that make a difference?
In my experience, no. Interests do. Personal chemistry plays a very minor role, and certainly with Trump, it doesn't. You had Trump sitting with the Prime Minister when he said that India is a tariff king or words to that effect. And while the Prime Minister was there, he did not, in February in the United States, he did not hesitate in imposing his tariffs. So I think I have always had deep suspicion about the utility of this term personal chemistry. Yes, in certain cases, it smoothens the path. But when
Right.
crucial interests are involved, its impact, quite frankly, is zilch, and we can see it from our own experience during the Modi term, first term and second term.
Yeah, in fact, one of those images, of course, was when Prime Minister Modi, for example, was with the Chinese president on a jhula or a swing in Ahmedabad, and then relations, unfortunately, went the wrong way a few years later. Though, KC Singh, therefore, should we tread very cautiously with this particular administration in Washington at the moment, not get carried away by any sweet talking that might happen behind closed doors?
Absolutely, because we don't even know what is Trump's endgame. There was a Japanese trade delegation which was in Washington. And after 3-4 days, they've come back because the interlocutors told them, we don't know what is the endgame. We don't know what to tell you and what to settle on. No, because the tariffs which have been imposed are very arbitrarily imposed. They have nothing to do with actual trade complexities of trade and so on and so forth. And saying, okay, for instance, gems and jewelry are the largest component of our exports. But America doesn't export any large export of gems and jewelry. So how do you impose duties on that? But Trump doesn't understand that. Trump says it has to be a blanket thing, and therefore it is going to be very difficult to negotiate a trade deal because trade deals are based on matching interests, balancing interests, seeing, okay, you accommodate me here, I'll accommodate you there. So far, Trump has not shown any propensity to go into details or to show this kind of flexibility, although his growing popularity at home, that may. And one good thing is that is the only positive signal which has come out that he has not sided with Israel to attack Iran because there was a division amongst the advisors. For the first time, we saw that the advisors around Trump had two different approaches, and therefore he stepped back, which means as his popularity drops, he may be becoming more pragmatic, more willing to listen to people around them. And that's where probably J.D. Vance can play some role, but we don't know what his real thinking is.
Okay, let me leave it there. I appreciate both of you joining us and giving us a sense as senior diplomats of how one should tread with this Trump-Vance administration. Vivek Karju, KC Singh, thank you very much for joining me here on the News Today.